Good evening. Welcome to WSBI, your resource for success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. And now, for your host, Kimberly McLemore.
All right. Good evening and welcome to WSBI, your resource for success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring entrepreneurs and women-owned businesses from across the country. I am your host, Kimberly McLemore, and welcome to another night of sharing. With us, we have special guest, professional opera singer, Sara Duchovnay. Sara is a professional opera singer, estate fine jewelry curator, and owner of Songbird Sara Jewelry, where she brings operatic glamour into an everyday life with her online store of one-of-a-kind heirloom pieces interwoven with history. Sara performs leading roles with opera companies across the U.S., and this on-the-road lifestyle has given her the opportunity to form meaningful business relationships within the fine estate jewelry world, allowing her to source some of the most unique and exquisite jewelry pieces available today. So without further ado, please help me welcome to my platform, Sara Duchovnay. Hello, Sara.
Yeah.
How are you this evening?
I'm great. How are you?
I am good. I think I got it. I was like, ooh, let me get this name right.
You nailed it.
Thank you so much. Oh, I'm so excited to have you on the show tonight. You are my first professional opera singer, so I am so excited for the listeners to hear more about who you are. So, Sara, before we dive into this interview, why don't you just tell the listeners a little bit more about who Sara is?
Yes. Okay. So sometimes when I, tell my story, it sounds a little bit insane. Like I'm a professional opera singer and I also sell antique diamonds and I travel the world and, sing beautiful things and collect beautiful jewelry. But essentially, I went to college and graduate school to be an opera singer. I started my career. I was living a very kind of standard path for what classical musicians are expected to do in this country, which is go to a lot of school, sometimes accrue a lot of debt, and start this career where you're on the road a lot. You're an independent contractor, so there isn't a ton of security when it comes to employment. You could make vastly different amounts every year. So it's difficult to kind of make those financial plans for your future. And when I was younger, I was married to my high school boyfriend, and it was a very unhealthy, controlling relationship. So here I was, being financially indebted and financially controlled in my first marriage, piecing together this very competitive, very difficult career, and not really thinking about it as a business. So when I was 28, I got out of that relationship. I was finally able to really focus on my career as an opera singer for the first time, because I had nothing tying me down. I was able to really step into my role as a businesswoman. And I realized that I really wanted to take that entrepreneurial spirit and that love of business and that love of glamour and fashion and create an adjacent business to my performing career that would give me more financial stability, more autonomy and ability to make decisions for myself and not feel like I was indebted or stuck in any kind of situation that wasn't the right one for me. So I started with resale businesses. And actually my ex-husband and I had done some resale. We had an eBay store and we did some real estate. But I started my own eBay business, flipping dresses, and then joined forces with another opera singer to start a business where we sold performance gowns and audition dresses and all the glamorous things that we wear on stage, we sold those things to other opera singers and actually started an online platform where opera singers could sell their things to each other. So kind of like a Poshmark, but just for opera singers. And through that, I realized that I really did have a knack for resale and branding and finding things that really spoke to people, and, you know, finding those things that people were saying, oh my gosh, I've been looking for something just like this. And I have always been obsessed with antique jewelry and diamonds, and never really had the funds to buy all of them for myself. Obviously, I'm a freelance musician.
Well,
So, but I had this dream that if I started this business, I could shop for other people. I could rescue these full vintage and antique pieces of jewelry and help other people find those one-of-a-kind pieces. So about 3 years ago, I transitioned from designer dresses to antique fine jewelry and started Songbird Sara Jewelry. And it's been an amazing thing in the pandemic because live performance isn't really happening anymore. So my current husband is an opera singer as well, and this business has given us the ability to, you know, weather the storm and not have to pivot completely and be able to keep creating art and wait for the opera industry to return when it can do so safely. And so long story short.
Well, we're going to dive into your story a little bit deeper and a little more, because I was listening to your story, and the beginning of it is what stood out for me the most, because I'm thinking, well, first of all, what made you so interested in wanting to become an opera singer?
I always loved performing. I was one of those people who, when I was a kid, I would make my parents and my aunts and uncles and everyone sit down for hours while I performed one-woman shows. I always just loved being center of attention in the right kind of situation. So I'm I'm a extroverted introvert. So I kind of keep to myself, but I love those moments of being on stage. So I wanted to do musical theater when I was younger, and I started taking voice lessons around 15 or 16, and my voice teacher was an opera singer, which was just luck. It just so happened that the teacher that was close by was a very accomplished opera singer. And she heard that my voice had more of an operatic quality to it, and said, I think if you want to make this your career, this is probably where you should focus instead of Broadway, which has generally more of a pop sound to it, which my voice doesn't do particularly well. So I started training for opera at 16. I remember being really upset when she told me this, because I was like, I'm supposed to be on Broadway. She doesn't know me. How dare she?
Right, how dare you tell me I can't do this, right?
Right. And then I went to see my first opera. I saw Carmen at the Philadelphia Opera Company, and I just thought it was the most amazing thing. I fell in love, and right then and there, I was like, well, this is what I'm going to do with my life. I'm going to be an opera singer. So, yeah, I was really lucky to discover what I loved at such an early age.
Right. But, when I think about opera singers, it's very strategic. And so how extensive amount of training has it taken you just to get to the point where you are obviously now a professional opera singer? And then, of course, how many years have you been a professional opera singer?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question, and something that I've been talking about and thinking about a lot. I was very fortunate to have a full ride to undergrad. So that was really a godsend, because with the pandemic, what is really being brought to light is that it costs so much money to complete your education as a professional classical musician. And even once you have that career, it's very difficult to get out of debt with the cost of living in the expensive cities that we're expected to live in, and the cost of, your coaches and your teachers and the people that you have to train with continually throughout your whole career. So it is a very expensive career path. I was really fortunate to have that full ride to undergrad, and then my graduate school, I had another generous scholarship. So in that way, that really helped. But also having a side business, the way I think about investing my money from opera even now is different. So when I get a check from a performance, I reinvest that into my business. I use that to buy inventory. I think of, okay, well, I have this check from my performance. Like, how can I double it? How can I triple it? How can I quadruple it? Because contrary to, the glamorous image of opera, professional performers don't make a ton of money. It's not.
Wow. Okay.
It's not quite as glamorous. There, of course, there is like the 1% of really, really mega stars, but you could probably count those people, in 100 or less. And I think a lot of it is just the cost of traveling for your auditions. That's all on our own dime. So if a company wants to hear me in Germany, and I'm flying to Germany for that audition, that money is coming out of my funds. That's not being reimbursed. That's a tax write-off. Wow. But yeah, it's very costly.
Yeah, and I guess I would never thought of it being that expensive, because I'm thinking that as being opera star that they have their definite pluses, and I'm thinking that you're right. I mean, you do hear a lot about the top people, but you don't hear about the people coming behind them, and to get to that elevation as much. And so, with that said, and you said you obviously have another business, but prior to you starting another business, you were just constantly studying your artwork there per se, and so. I guess being as a professional opera singer, how many years have you actually been in the business itself, in the singing business portion?
I have been professional since I was 25, and I'm 34.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah, 9 years.
Yeah,
so maybe 26. Yeah, so like around there. Definitely under 10 years, but I guess it's been a while. It doesn't feel like it's been that long. And I so I started studying at 16, and then 4 years of undergrad. I took a year off, and then 2 years of graduate school. So a lot of education, and kind of like if you were an athlete, you still have like your coaches and your trainers. You're constantly keeping on top of your game. So it is kind of like a lifelong learning thing.
Right. And do you have like a manager who helps you, find your next gig, so to speak, and get you prepared for these performances?
Yeah. At the moment, I'm between managers, but yes, they're in the business. We have management. They're not booking agents, so they don't get you jobs per se. Okay. But they get you auditions, and then they negotiate, like, when are you going to show up? Are they, is the company going to pay for your airfare? Like that kind of thing.
So basically you may get there, but the rest is really left up to you, right? So
and it really requires a lot of entrepreneurship to have a performance career, because you really are responsible for your brand, excuse me, your branding, and how you are, advertising yourself and what you're doing and how you're showing up on social media. So all of that is really on the performer, and that alone can be a full-time job.
Right. And you talked about having to pivot, and everybody's been doing a lot of that we're up on a year, which is almost incredible to think about. Now it's actually February, soon to be March here. So, you pivoting a lot. So during the time frame that you've been pivoting beyond just doing your, the jewelry side of it, your business, have you been doing like performances online? Is that a way that you've been keeping people abreast of who you are and what you're continuing to do? Because as we all know, it's like if you're out of the limelight for a period of time, people have a tendency to forget who you are and what your capabilities are.
Yeah, I have actually. And I combined both of my businesses to do this. I did, I guess it was like 3 months ago now. It feels like yesterday. But I did a shoppable concert. So I did a live streamed opera concert.
Awesome.
And between numbers, I talked about the jewelry that I was wearing. And anyone could go to my website and purchase those pieces. So it's like QVC meets Sotheby's meets, a live streamed opera performance. And I'm planning my next one, hopefully within the next month or so. So that was really fun because I got to introduce both sides of my life. So people who knew me through opera could see my other passion for business and jewelry. And then I have 9,300 Instagram followers, and most of them are not opera people. They're jewelry people, or, so then I could introduce them to myself as a singer. So it was a really cool experience.
Wow. Well, and I think, like I said, we all have had to change our mindset about how we do business, and everybody's online, we're all kind of zoomed out and kind of crazy at this point, but it's when you have something that you're doing, it's entertaining, but yet still, we get to look at this beautiful jewelry, you're doing all these little things that are different in your performance per se. And I think that's the thing that people are looking for, because we're doing so much of the Zooms and whatever other platform that people are utilizing, you just get worn down. So it's always really nice to see something unique and different. So there, of course, I got to dive into the girls. Diamonds are girls' best friends. So you are into the jewelry. So explain a little bit of how you find these fine pieces of jewelry, and then what makes you decide on that piece is the most important piece for me to take, and then, try to sell that piece again out to others, because, because you love such unique, exquisite jewelry. How do you make the decision to let it go?
Yeah, so it's really hard to let it go, but then I also have bills, so that helps. I'm like, well, I would love to keep this, but I have bills, so I will not. But my pieces come from a variety of different places, and now that I am not traveling as much, really at all, I'm really fortunate that I made great connections with people when I was traveling. Mm-hmm. So, as I mentioned before, my husband is also an opera singer, and before the pandemic, we were living on the road. Like, we would be in a location for 1 to 2 months, and then we would go to the next location. And they were usually big cities, and I would set up meetings with estate jewelry wholesalers, estate coordinators, people in the antique jewelry industry, and just get to know people. And because I have my resale license, I buy in bulk. I'm an opera singer. People remembered me, and I was able to make those lasting business relationships. So now I don't have to travel as much to source things, because I can call on connections and say, you know what I like, or this is what I'm looking for a client. Like, has this come up? And then sometimes I will work directly with families and estates if people are selling things from a relative. In those cases, I usually do not a commission, a consignment situation. That way it lets them set a price that they feel comfortable. They're making more on that than they would be if they sold it directly to someone at a wholesale price. Okay. So when I'm going through things, I generally have an idea of like what I'm looking for. Old cut diamonds, I am always looking for those. So diamonds that were cut, 40s and earlier were cut by hand. They have a different kind of cut than the modern Run Brilliant. They're meant to sparkle by lamplight or candlelight. They have a different facet pattern. So I'm always on the lookout for those. And then it kind of just comes down to like, how do I feel about it? Like, is it something that I love? Is it something I would be proud to own?
Right.
Do I feel a good energy from it? And if so, I've learned that my clients will probably respond the same way. So a lot of it is just like, does this make me feel amazing and beautiful when I put it on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just like you're singing, right? I mean, when you sing, you sound, I mean, when I think about the name of your business, Songbird, I'm assuming that you sound exactly that way, a beautiful songbird. So, and which, everybody doesn't know, but later I'm going to be, giving a little taste to you guys all of how Sara sounds. So I'm really excited to hear that later on in the show. And then, when you talked about, your business, the enjoyment in your voice is definitely there. And I liked how you talk about the relationships that you've built throughout the years, which has been able to allow you to be able to move on this side of the business, and make that kind of the forefront right now because of the circumstances that, we're in with the pandemic. Can't really be out in public, on a regular basis and doing your performances. And I think that is so valuable for people who are trying. If you're trying to be in business, this is the most important part, is building relationships. As they always say, though, the old saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. That helps you be able to make some of the movements that you may need to make at a time that you wouldn't even thought about it. And, I always tell people, 4 or 5 years ago when I started my business, almost 5 years ago, it was all based, I wanted to do everything online platform. And everybody's like, no, nobody's going to want to do that. And then look at us now. It's like, okay, people, now we don't really have a choice, so it's always continuing to build. And I'm hoping that as we continue on, as things continue to get better, but we still maintain some of the same things that we're doing now, because it really does prove, in essence, how businesses should really be ran.
Yeah. And I think those personal connections now, people really crave that human connection. Mm-hmm. Even if it's not in the same way that we're used to, it's not face to face, people really miss that and really crave that. So I think if you're making business connections with people who you genuinely, enjoy and trust and like and connect with, those kinds of relationships really last, because people will be excited to interact with you, even if it's just for business.
Absolutely. So, obviously, you've been in business, and I love how you've shared some of the tools and how you've gone along with business. But, what advice would you give someone who's new coming into business or existing, and they're kind of stuck right now because they have gone through this pandemic and we're not making money, and especially within the music industry? Kind of give some advice of what you think would be great steps for them.
Oh, it's so tough right now. And I have been talking to a lot of colleagues who are like, I had it figured out. I had my career and I was doing really well, and now I have to recalibrate. But what I've noticed about my musician colleagues, and I know that this is true for people in all sorts of businesses, is that you have other skills that you've used in your other business that you might not realize are actually really marketable skills. So musicians, for example, are great at talking to people. They're great at making friends. They're usually really good at organizing, and they are great for those administration kinds of things, fundraising. I mean, things that you wouldn't think a music degree would teach you, but actually, those skills are kind of cultivated throughout that career. So I think just writing down okay, what did I do in my other job? What were all of the activities that I did? And then breaking those activities apart. Okay, what skills have I honed to be really good at this activity? What are the random things that I learned through this that actually could be really marketable? And then finding something that you really love, because I think that what breaks my heart these days is that, especially for performers, like, we can't do the thing that feeds our soul and that feeds us creatively, and that can really take its toll. Mm-hmm. So finding something else that, like, is also creative and also gives you a little taste of that thing that we're not allowed to do, or, the work isn't there for us anymore. Not deprioritizing creativity, because I think it's really important emotionally that we keep that going.
Right. And, you were saying that your husband is also an opera singer. So do you guys get the opportunity to perform together? You're with each other now regularly. So,
yeah.
So
whenever we can, we love to perform together. And usually, like, in regular times, because we're freelancers, it's like, it's really lucky when we get to be on a gig together, but it's not very often that we do. But with the pandemic, we're making our own opportunities. So, like, I made him sing with me on my concert. I was like, all right, work for your supper. You're singing this and this and this. You're playing piano. It's a family business now.
Exactly. Oh,
it was really
goodness.
fun.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, yeah, he's like, now you got to earn your keep, okay? So you're going to get up here and perform with me.
Yeah, and actually the opera that you have the recording of, that was an opera that we did together last fall.
Okay.
So we have had some great opportunities.
Well, that's awesome. So yes, like I said, we're going to be listening to your opera towards the end of the show. But, obviously we're getting close to that. I can't believe how quickly this time has gone by. I was like, oh man, this is almost 30 minutes. It's coming up real quick here. So, but your advice is absolutely right. You have to definitely be creative during this time is more, but also, as you're continuing to think about this creativity, those creative juices need to continue as things continue to get back to normal. And I think a lot of times we lose that because it's the attitude of, hey, if it's working, I'm not going to change it. But then all of a sudden we were literally brought to our knees to say, you know what, we got to do something different now. We don't have the capabilities that we had before by just constantly having to be in front of people. So, your advice is absolutely, true. And, the listen to your story, it's very inspiring, because we do hear a lot of stories on the news about, people who are, opera singers or, or like you said, are into Broadway and stuff. There's nothing available for them. There's no money being given to them. People are having to, get money together to give to the artists, because you're literally starving artists out there. And it's unfair that people don't look at the business truly as a business. And that's the difference. It's like they pick and choose. Well, this is considered a business. Well, everything is a business when you're making money, because you're still paying taxes on it. So that's my attitude about it. So, it's I'm hoping that people are listening to your guys' voices and saying, hey, we still need help, even though we can be creative and we're trying to do the best that we can. They definitely need to do more for the artists out there.
Yeah, and I hope that people realize that they miss it. I hope that having this time without live performance, people are like, oh, wow, yes, I really miss going to a concert or going to a play or going to the opera. And they realize that we actually do provide a really vital service. Mm-hmm. It's something that's worth it.
Absolutely. Well, all concerts are worth it. Yeah. So, everybody who's in that bucket is like, man, and even though some places are starting to bring little by little people back, live, it's that fear, it's like, do I really want to sit out there and listen to somebody saying, even though it's the one thing you really do miss, you always have to contemplate what is the best way, to take, the step to go forward. And so, I definitely, love that you are continuing though, Sara, to do what you enjoy the most. And then of course the jewelry, I'm like, definitely got to look at some of your pieces. Probably wouldn't be good for me though, because you look, then you just want to buy. So that's not going to be a good thing for me. But I definitely am excited that you've been on the show with me this evening. Is there anything else you would like to say and share with the listeners?
Yeah, I love teaching about jewelry, and I try and make my Instagram really fun and like window shopping and educational. Mm-hmm. So even if you're not sure about antique jewelry, or you don't know a whole lot about fine jewelry, definitely check it out because it's just pretty and fun. And I promise that I don't make anything too intimidating. And my Instagram is at Songbird Sara Jewelry.
All right. And do you have any other performances coming up anytime soon?
Yes. Well, now that I've said it, I think that will be a good thing to make me get my act together. But I will be launching another shoppable concert on Instagram within the next month or two. So It will be, beautiful jewels and beautiful singing.
All right. Well, we'll be looking out for you. Do you have another form of contact that you would like to have the listeners be able to reach out to you at?
Yeah, Instagram is great. And then I am also on Clubhouse now. And I am Sara Duchovnay on Clubhouse. And that is a great place for people who are more interested in the business aspect, like the opera entrepreneurship side of it is more Clubhouse based.
Oh, wow. Okay. All righty then. Well, Sara, it has been such a pleasure talking to you this evening, and I'm just so excited to get to the end of the show so we can play your music. But
thank you so much. It's really been a joy.
Oh, you're welcome. Very welcome. But of course, before we do that, everyone, I hope you have enjoyed this evening's show and learning about another way to pivot your business and understanding that whether you're a musician, whether you're in selling jewelry, whatever the business you have, it's important for you to learn how to be creative. And Sara has taught us that this evening because, like she said, she's had an amazing career to be able to sing and then be able to be around diamonds all the time. I mean, I couldn't handle it, but she's better than me at this. So I hope you all have enjoyed our show this evening. And like I said, have listened to everything that's been taught. Like I always say towards the end of the show, here we are in 2021. Think about what it is you wish is existed for you. So don't let your dreams fall to the floor. Go ahead and start now. And know that there are people out here every day who are in the same boat that you are, and we're here to help. If you are in need of assistance, you're thinking about, I want to do a book, or I want to do a podcast show, or I want to start a business, you can reach out to me at any time at Kimberly at WSBILLC@gmail.com. And let's just chat. Let's just figure out what your next step is going to be so we can get you going. You can also go to my platform, website at www.wsbillc.com. And of course, we are here every week listening to this show on iHeartRadio, and you can also download it on my mobile app, which is on Google Play, or wherever you listen to your podcast. We're here every Thursday evening at 7 p.m. But until then, you all enjoy the rest of your evening, and good night.